Hello, this is Martin Houston. We'll be starting things here in just a moment. This is an overtime edition of the show. We'll be back with you in just a few moments. Hey, welcome into the Martin Houston Show. It's an overtime edition. So glad that you've chosen to be with us this afternoon. I told all of our regular listeners and viewers that we would have a special overtime edition of the program, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. So glad that you have chosen to be with us. Today's show is going to have, of course, we'll talk a little bit about that Alabama basketball game. It gave us a few extra minutes to end the season as Alabama wrapped things up in contention for the number 2 seed, double bye for SEC play. So kudos to Nate Oates and his team for bouncing back. Tennessee almost beat us 3 times, but Alabama was able to bounce back in a positive way and take care of business when it comes to getting that final win of the season. Kudos to the seniors on senior day. Looked like things were not going to turn out the way we hoped, but they did manage to take care of business. So kudos to them. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. We'll also have some time to talk about this Alabama football team. Man, I can't help but get excited about what this coaching staff is doing and how they're allowing us to have access to the players, the organization, and themselves. And it's just different. It's special. It's different. It's an opportunity for us to learn more about this team and this program. And every day, I think I get a little bit more excited about it. And because of that access, we're definitely hearing and seeing a lot more of Alabama and getting a better feel. So we'll have some comments from Coach Sheridan, our new offensive coordinator. We'll talk with him, hear from him here in a few moments. We'll also uh, play fresh off the field, a 2 minute little snippet video that we'll play that is Malachi Moore and getting his thoughts on several different things. And then we'll also have a couple of comments from Q Robinson on Coach DeBoer and Coach Robinson, and then also his attitude, that attitude of a champion. So thanks so much, and I'd be remiss if I didn't do what I do each and every day. Remind you that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Well, people really didn't take a lot of time to get started with the conversation around Jalen Milroe and what Jalen Milroe means to this team. And because of what Jalen Milroe means to this team, I think things are going to be really good for Alabama. And so, first question out of the box was regarding Jalen Milroe, and here's what Coach Sheridan had to say regarding Jalen Milroe.
Just overall first impressions, you got a quarterback that's returning. He's one of the top quarterbacks in college football, according to the Heisman voting and everything. How confident do you feel going in with number 4?
Very confident. He's an extremely talented kid. I think more than anything, he's just a great person. I've really enjoyed getting to know him, his family. Obviously, everybody knows the talent, the explosiveness as a passer. Obviously, he's very electric as a runner as well. But I've just enjoyed getting to know him as a person. What his history's been, what his journey has been. Just his journey. What has gotten him to this point. But if you ask me how confident I am, I'll tell you very. There's a lot of work to be done still as a group. Not just as a quarterback group, but as a whole offense. But yeah, the kid's a special player for sure, and a special person. I've really enjoyed getting to know him and getting a chance to coach him. I feel very, very lucky.
That's Coach Sheridan talking about Alabama starting quarterback Jalen Milroe, saying that he feels very lucky to coach him, that his talent is obvious, but there's still a lot to grow and a lot to learn and lots of things that need to be put in place. But glad to hear that, of course, you wouldn't expect anything else. But I love the fact he said his talent is obvious, but his journey of how he's gotten here brings some flavor to the table. And speaking of Nick Sheridan, I know that a lot of people were upset or disappointed when Grubb left, but Sheridan is a guy who coached with DeBoer for one season at Indiana, and then ran the offense as a play caller for 2 years, where he ran that same system with the, quarterback Michael Penix at Indiana, and he was able to be successful there, fairly successful for an Indiana team, and then spent the last 2 years with Coach DeBoer at Washington. So it's really exciting to hear this young coach, as you watch, seem so poised and ready to take on this big role. And he was also asked about what he brings to the table and his experience and how that impacts him doing his job. Here is Coach Sheridan talking about his impact as a play caller and its impact on the players in the quarterback room.
I think that's a great question. I certainly had some ups and downs in my career as a player. And so I think that journey for me has helped me connect with the kids that I've coached. I've shared my story with them, and there will be more, experiences that you share with your players to try to motivate them, connect with them, try to get the best out of them. And so I think, playing quarterback at this level is a small fraternity of people, and the things that come with that, I think only a few people can fully understand what that experience is like. And I don't think, no two people or no two journeys are the same, no two schools, no two careers, but I think there's some similarities. Everybody goes through adversity. Everybody has good moments and bad moments, and kind of how you handle those, the experiences you gain, the wisdom you learn from that. I think, that's our job as coaches, to try to get the best out of the players. And I think sharing your story is certainly helpful and helps you connect with them.
Yeah. And that's Coach Sheridan once again talking about connecting with the players, because he's been a quarterback. I think that is going to pay huge dividends. I know we had an OC last year who had played, but did not feel the same connection, in my opinion. I didn't feel confident. Of course, we hardly ever heard from Tommy Rees, but you never felt comfortable with Tommy Rees as your offensive coordinator. But right off the bat, you get this feel for what Coach Sheridan brings to the table. And so if you're an Alabama fan, you have to be really excited about what is to come for Alabama football from an offensive side of the ball. Looking forward to seeing some of the flexibility and the different formations and the different packages and all of those things. And, this past week, we never really got to it, but what would be your biggest goals if you were out there right now what would be your biggest goal if you were the offensive coordinator, if you were the one who was trying to get this team ready? And of course, Coach Sheridan was asked that question. When he was asked that question, I thought his response was very good. I'm going to let you listen to that, then break it down and give you my thoughts and opinions on what he actually was trying to communicate in that this little small segment of audio.
I think number one, to install our systems, the scheme that's involved, and then number two, to make sure that our style of play, that we're executing those plays with the right mentality and the right mindset. There's certainly fundamentals involved in both of those areas, but knowing what to do and how to do it, that's really what we're focusing on this spring.
He didn't say a whole lot, but he said a lot. He says style and scheme, style, scheme, and then their system. There's a couple of different things to dissect when you think about style, scheme, system. When he's talking about style, this is a wide open offense. They throw the ball all over the field. I went back and watched the Texas film, and it was absolutely amazing. As the game went along, you literally saw the Washington Husky, Michael Penix, literally utilize the entire field. They swing it to the running back out in the flat, and then they go deep down the right sideline, and then they drag a receiver across the middle of the field and hit that guy. Then they send one deep down the middle, and they go down the left side of the field, and all while doing that at a fast pace. But when I say at a fast pace, they don't always go early in the play clock. Sometimes they actually hurry up, get to the line, and make you stay on the field and keep you from substituting. But they don't snap the ball until 10 seconds in the play clock or something like that. And what they're doing in that moment is they're actually preventing you. One of the things is they're preventing you from substituting, but more importantly than preventing you from substituting, they're giving their quarterback enough time to read the defense. Think about that for a second. When you're out there and everything is going on, and the quarterback is in a hurry, sometimes he actually can be in such a hurry that he doesn't actually fully read the defense. And so it's not just a matter of a style of hurry up, no huddle. And Coach DeBoer has said that they're going to use several different types of huddles. They're going to have the sugar huddle, which is where you get right up close to the line of scrimmage, not very far from the line of scrimmage, but you're in a huddle, you break it real quick, and then you go fast. You're trying to catch the defense out of position or create a mismatch where somebody, maybe if they have field corner versus, not field corner, they have guys going across the field as far as DBs with different receivers. You break the huddle, you hurry up and line up. They don't have a time to go, and you can create a mismatch that way. They have a lot of things like that going on in this system. So that's what he's talking about when he's saying we're going to get our style and our system in. And so it's going to be really fun to watch as this kind of plays itself out. And we can definitely see some special things there. Speaking of as it plays itself out, one of the interesting players to me on this year's team is, a guy who ended up being ranked the #1 tight end by some services in the country, but he's actually going to end up being a wide receiver, and at least in the beginning, I thought Coach Sheridan's response was very interesting. He's going to be a receiver, but maybe he won't be a receiver when he graduates. So we'll we'll let you hear from Coach Sheridan and what he had to say about Caleb Downs. We'll come back from that conversation. We'll take a break after that audio. Then I'll come back on the other side and keep the conversation going. But here is Coach Sheridan talking about Caleb Odom and why they moved him to wide receiver. It wasn't just a blind move. There was a lot of thought that went into it. But here's Coach Odom talking about that move.
Yeah, I think with Caleb, we're just trying to, put him in a position to be successful early on in his career. He's a big kid. He's very athletic. He's very explosive. He's got a great frame. How his body grows and what he turns into being, when he's, 20, 21, 22 years old. I think time will tell. He certainly runs plenty good enough to play wide receiver. He runs very well. He's a big target. And so we just try to put him in a position early on, to try not to run into 275-pound people, put him in a position so he could have success. And I think there's so much versatility in our offense. There's so much interpositional responsibilities where tight ends and wide receivers or running backs, everyone's being taught conceptually what we're trying to do. And so there's good teaching and learning occurring there, and just trying to utilize his strengths, put him in a position to be successful. And he's been great. He comes from a great program. He's accustomed to playing football at a high level. And so the moment hasn't been too big with him. He's fit right in. Obviously we had a chance to watch some bowl prep when we first got here. There were moments of him competing at a high level against really good competition, in his time here at Alabama. And so that's really, transitioned to spring. He's got a long way to go, a lot to learn, but he's eager, he's willing, likes to be coached, cares about football. So we're excited about him for sure.
Welcome back in. We'll keep the conversation rolling. As we were going to break there, we were talking about, we had Coach Sheridan talking about this tight end / wide receiver, Caleb Odom, 6'5", 200-pound plus, nice frame, big body frame, but he's actually was one of the nation's top tight ends. But because of what he has shown on the practice field, on film, they've already made the decision to move him to wide receiver. And I think it's going to be a great move. And of course, I love how they left it open. That doesn't mean that he'll always play tight end, but he said several words in there that we've not heard in a while when it comes to Alabama offense. He talked about versatility, and he used the word interpositional responsibility, meaning that they have a lot of adaptability, flexibility, and where running backs may have the same role and responsibility as the tight end one play based on the play call, and then the next play, the wide receiver may have that same blocking responsibility. So it's a varied mix of play calling as well as responsibility, which is only going to bode well for Alabama. So when you look at this, what we've talked about so far is Jalen Milroe and him talking about his talent and his ability. We talked about his role as an offensive coordinator, being a former quarterback, and what he brings to the table. And then the biggest goal being to get the style and system in place, and then ultimately using a guy like Caleb Downs to add to that. So my big question for you right now, Bama Nation, is what's your biggest concern? You've heard Coach Sheridan, you've heard from Coach DeBoer, you've heard from Coach Womack. How you feeling? T. Sleazy saying I was worried with the new guys hearing the new hire speaking and watching all the interviews and seeing the depth of the practice highlights and the seriousness and the urgency, feeling better. RTR, roll tide. And that's the thing. What's your biggest concern right now? Do you still have concern? Or is it just a wait and see like it's been for the last whatever number of years since Nick Saban? You're just excited about getting to the season. I can tell you that when you listen to Coach DeBoer, Coach Sheridan, it doesn't matter which coach, they all seem to talk about the same, not talk about the same thing, but talk in the same vein: energy, effort, intensity, finish, focus, all of those things. And so for me, I cannot wait to see Jalen Milroe in this offense because it is an opportunity. Everybody, not everyone, not you guys, but a lot of people have talked about, oh man, Jalen Milroe is going to be interesting if he can hold on to the job because of the situation of how much they ask him to do from the line. Everyone acts like this kid's not smart, like he's not intelligent. And I love that Coach Sheridan said in that interview, he's a great athlete, he's a great player, but he's a better person. He's a great kid, he's a great person. Y'all need to understand he graduated in 3 years. So this is not a dummy. This kid can learn, he can grasp, he can pick it up. And I think we're going to see a more explosive Jalen Milroe. And you may say, how can he be more explosive than he was? Because they're going to put trust in him. Watching all of last year, I never felt like Coach Saban and Tommy Rees trusted Jalen Milroe to be a dual threat quarterback, to be a guy who could take and do all the aspects of what it takes to be a dual threat quarterback. I felt like they either would give him a game plan that he was really just going to run the ball, or they give him a game plan where he was going to throw the ball, but it was never this in and out, back and forth. And I think when you hear these coaches talk, when they talk about the flexibility and the interrelatedness of the offense and how one position goes back and forth, I think they're going to expect that level of complexity and understanding from the quarterback. Jalen Milroe being a leader at this time and clearly the front runner. Hey, I think he's going to get pushed. I think Matt's going to push him. I think Ty Simpson is going to push him. Lonergan is a guy who showed flashes last year, but I think it's really clearly Jalen Milroe's team to lose. There was a couple other comments that he made, but I'll save those till Monday and we'll rehash. Of course, I definitely know that our listeners on Monday will want to hear the Caleb Odom comments. But here's something else. I thought this was neat. Just inside, you're getting that quick, fresh look. They come out with a new series, and it's called Fresh Off the Field. And this is just a short 2-minute interview with Malachi Moore. I'm going to play the interview in its entirety, and then we'll come back and have a few comments on it.
We're here in the Hank Cripps indoor practice facility, fresh off the practice field. I'm joined by Malachi Moore. Malachi, I appreciate you joining us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Malachi, you're just in the middle of your first week of spring practice. How's it going so far?
It's going good. There's a lot of good energy out there. Everybody flying around on both sides of the ball, and I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Let's talk about Coach DeBoer. What has that been like, playing for him? I know you've only been with him for just a little bit, but what has it been like so far?
Yeah, he's definitely a winner. Everything he does, he wants you to win, and he's really a player's coach, from just checking up on you and just making sure you're always in the right headspace. But he's a great guy, and I love what he's doing with the team.
You got a new defensive coordinator and Coach Womack. You also have a new position coach and Coach Hitzler. Kind of talk about both of them so far.
Coach Kane, great high energy guy. I think everybody on our staff is coming here with a lot of young and high energy type of people, and Kane is one of those. He's always going to coach you to be your best and reach your max potential. And Coach Hitch, he does a great job of just teaching us the game from a different perspective, just having eyes on the quarterback and knowing where the ball's going instead of just guarding the man. But it's been great so far.
You've only been out on the practice field for a couple of practices so far this spring, but what's it been like so far? And, you know, just what are spring practices like under Coach DeBoer?
Yeah, it's definitely high tempo. It's high tempo, is fast, it's fun, and it's technical, I would say. And we're out there competing each and every day against each other, trying to be the best. And everybody's really just out there having fun.
You're one of the leaders on this team. You're a guy that could have went pro, but you decided to come back. Kind of what factored into you coming back?
Coach Saban just always told us that the NFL doesn't have a G League like the NBA or any minor league, and then the longer you stay in college, it's really more your developmental stages. And I just thought it was the best thing for me to come back and to develop a little bit more before I take that next step.
Well, I appreciate it, Malachi. Thanks for joining us. Roll Tide, and good luck this season.
Thank you. Roll Tide.
For Malachi Moore, I'm Christopher England reporting from the Hank Crisp Indoor Practice Facility.
All right. Hey, that's Christian, and that's fresh off the field. I love that segment. Hopefully, it's going to give us even more insight into what's happening around Alabama football. You have to love what was said in that segment. I'll break it down for you. You may or may not have picked up on everything, but the word energy, I think, was used 3 or 4 times, and you heard me mention that earlier. High energy. He said it's young. I think he said, first of all, he said it's just a lot of energy. And then he came back when he was talking about the coaches and said, I think they're all high energy. And then he said young guys with high energy. And I think that's pretty neat, which FYI, Alabama fans, that means that we're probably going to have a lot of coaches hitting the coaching trails here in the coming years because we do have a lot of young guys who are early in their careers. They're kind of in the stage where Kirby Smart was at when he came to Alabama. We have several of those guys on this staff, and so that probably means that we'll start having some Kirby Smart start to leave here in the coming years for other opportunities. But hopefully we can keep them together and keep this staff together for a couple of years. A couple other things he said about Coach DeBoer. He said he's a winner. He's a winner. He wants you to win at everything you do, which is telling me that he's not just talking to them about football, but he's talking to them about life, about school, about education, actually talking to them like they're student athletes, about them being him being a player's coach. So really enjoyed hearing that. And then the biggest thing that I want you to hold on to this, because this is huge. We've been asking for Alabama DBs to change their technique and change how they play. He said about Coach Hitler, he said he's teaching us to keep our eyes on the quarterback and not on the man, and not just watching the man, so we know where the ball is at. If that doesn't get you excited, think about how many times over the past years that we've gotten a PI because the Alabama guy was running and just staring at the DB and did not realize that the ball was coming. The guy slows down, runs into him. How many interceptions you've seen Alabama DBs miss throughout the years because they did not turn around and play the ball? Yeah, you have to be careful when you start watching the quarterback because they can pump fake you and things like that. But that means that there's probably going to be more zone played potentially than we've seen in times past, and that we're going to see the interceptions tick up. There's a lot of more conversation we could have, but this is just an overtime edition of the show. I'm not going to keep you much longer. I'm going to let you get out of here, but I did want to get one more comment from one other player that had some conversation to say around Alabama football, and that is from Quindarius Robertson and him talking. And he was asking a question about playing time and where he wants to play and et cetera. And I love his response because it speaks to me about the attitude of a champion. And so here is Q Robinson, the attitude of a champion, which I think is going to carry this team a long way.
On defense?
I'm gonna be playing whatever they need me to play. If they need me to play special teams more than the defensive snaps, or defense snaps more than offensive snaps, or whatever, I'm willing to do it. I'm just here to help at this point.
And that doesn't seem like that big a deal. Those few words. but it is tremendous that that's the attitude. That's one of the leaders of this football team. And he was asked about, what it's like to be in a position to play more and playing more snaps, etc. And his response is, hey, I'm going to play more. Whether he's going to play special teams or not, since he's a starter. And he's like, I'm going to play wherever they need me to play. I'm going to do whatever they need me to do. And that's the attitude that Alabama is putting out coming off the capstone and under the leadership of Coach DeBoer. I want to thank you for joining me for this special edition, little overtime. I want to encourage you to follow Alabama Sports with Martin Houston on Facebook, Alabama Sports with Martin Houston on Facebook. That's where you can find and keep up with all the content and the posts and all of that. I did promise that I was going to talk a little bit more about basketball, but we'll circle back on that later as well. Make sure you join the show on Monday. Make sure you join the show on Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. every Monday through Friday, broadcasting on these same channels. We go live. You can interact with us on the chat. If you're new to the program, if you interact with us on chat, then I'll work that into the conversation of what we're talking about. Hey, you have the ability through Alabama Sports with Martin Houston fan page. You can give me topics. You can tell me what you want me to talk about, and I'll bring that in. And we are also on the radio airways on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC, and we do it every day. And we love the interaction. It's the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Alabama Sports, your show, your team. So I appreciate you. Thanks for listening in. We'll be back on Monday to keep things rolling right here on the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Alabama Sports, your show, your team. And once again, you can tune in on I know a lot of you are tuned in right now on YouTube and Twitter. But if you want to get the post-game show and pre-game show conversations, you have to follow Alabama Sports with Martin Houston on Facebook. Thanks. Roll Tide, everybody. And remember this: trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. And hey, how about joining me at church on Sunday at Harvest Church? And if you can't be at Harvest Church, find yourself in church somewhere on tomorrow. Roll Tide, everybody.